How can God love me?
What is my purpose?
What happens after death?
Why do bad things keep happening to me?
Who is God?
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of Ask GHCC. This week, we're going to be dealing with a subject that's come in on a number of occasions with a little bit of a different twist, and it has to do with the whole role of headship and submission in a marriage. Let me start by saying this. God is a God of order, so we shouldn't be surprised that God has a design that He intends to make a marriage work. A husband was designed by God to provide headship leadership, support, encouragement, love, direction, protection. He designed the woman to live in submission to that in a supportive role where she respects her husband. In fact, that's why the Apostle Paul, when he is addressing this, said in the book of Ephesians in chapter 5 that a wife was to submit to her husband as she does to the Lord, and a husband was to love his wife the way Christ loves the church. Our marriage is designed to be a picture on earth of the relationship between Christ and His church. And when a husband is leading the way he's supposed to lead, sacrificially, putting the family first, going out in front to make sure they are protected and led and given an example of what it means to follow Jesus, I have rarely seen a woman or family that's been unwilling to follow that kind of leadership. So when it works, it's really good, and the submission headship thing really isn't an issue. But many times what comes up is this. What do I do when my husband isn't a believer or professes to be a believer but really doesn't lead us the way Christ should? In fact, may even be at times antagonistic or jealous of our church involvement. What am I to do with that, and how am I to submit to that? Well, first of all, God's design doesn't go out the window just because we have a difficult situation. And believe me, those situations are difficult. What God calls us to do as much as possible is to live out the role that God's given us regardless of what the other is doing. For example, I've told ladies before that if they are in a home where the husband really doesn't love Jesus or says he does but doesn't model it and is antagonistic, first of all, they ought to pray for their husband. I know that sounds simplistic, but many times we leave that out. God can change the heart of a person and the situation. Then I encourage them to ask their husband, why is it that you resent my being at church? Or why are you resistant to this? Or whatever the right word is. And you'll be amazed what those guys will say sometimes. It may take a few times to get them to say something. But when they do, it may be as simple as, Sunday's my only day off. I value time with you, and I resent the fact that we're giving up a couple precious hours to be at church. It may be anything like that or something different, but whatever it is, if he'll tell you what it is, it gives you an opportunity to dialogue with your husband and come up with a suitable solution that can work for both of you, maybe with a little bit of compromise, and you can show him the kind of respect that Peter said in his letter. That kind of respect demonstrated to even a resistant husband can help turn an unbeliever to see that perhaps he needs to consider the claims of Christ. So the whole headship submission thing was given by God that we might have better marriages, better homes, and be a model for Him to use. He understands that sometimes the ideal isn't there. But a husband is still to love his wife, and a woman is to be in submission to that, not as a doormat or a punching bag, but showing true respect to the position, even if at times she can't show respect to the man himself. And trusting that as I do my role in the marriage, either as a husband to a wife who isn't submissive, or to a husband, or as a wife to a husband who isn't providing that kind of headship, I'm trusting that as I learn to do my role, God can do His work in the hearts of both of us. And I would advise in these specific situations that you would seek out the help of a pastor or other trusted biblical advisor who could help you talk about your specifics and how to live out these roles for a better, biblical, lasting, and fulfilling marriage.
How can God love me?
What is my purpose?
What happens after death?
Why do bad things keep happening to me?
Who is God?